Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Tom Worth Jr. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about Trump's not only failed proposals and unkept promises from his first term, but the expected worsening of the economy under him compared to a Kamala Harris administration. And this was from an analysis done by Goldman Sachs that I just came across this morning. If we go back to Trump's first term, he promised to do a few things, the big things, the $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which obviously never happened. He would use what people humorously referred to as infrastructure week whenever his chaos was usually intentional in his first term, but not always. Sometimes it was even too bad even for him. The news cycle was even too tough on him to take. He's very much of the old school, all publicity is good publicity, even negative. But sometimes things would get so bad that he would have to have a, quote, infrastructure week. And that would be an intense focus on all the things he promised to do during his campaign related to $1 trillion and later a $1.5 trillion. Again, never happened, but infrastructure bill. We know Biden has been working on infrastructure and getting dollars passed for that, but Trump never did. Another thing that he ran on in 2017 was the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Obviously, that never happened. People rely on that. It's a crucial part of people's health care in the United States today. And Trump himself has even come around to not even trying to claim he will repeal it. Repeal and replace, I think it was the mantra. Even Trump realizes it's too necessary for the citizens of the country today. And then the study I mentioned earlier, the analysis put out by Goldman Sachs. If you don't know Goldman Sachs, if you are a finance person, if you go to school to get a finance degree, to go to work on Wall Street, become an investment banker, get rich, Goldman Sachs is at the top of your list for your aspirations. They have had 3 Treasury secretaries for U.S. presidential administrations over the years, the most recent of which was one Steve Mnuchin. And that was, I had mentioned Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary under Trump the other day, who was one of a few to serve the whole 4 years under Trump. Mnuchin was another one. And he was, like Wilbur Ross, not good at all at his job, not good at all for the Treasury, for the United States. He didn't get an MBA like a lot of people who go to Goldman Sachs do. He got a bachelor's from Yale. His dad was a partner at Goldman Sachs, so he went to work there in 1985. And he spent 17 years there and then left. He made it to partner. He got all the money and all the prestige and contacts and everything. He took the tens of millions of dollars, went to work for a little hedge fund, another hedge fund, started his own hedge fund with a few other Goldman guys, and invested with that hedge fund in some Trump properties, one in Hawaii being built and the one in Chicago. And I believe that's the same Trump building in Chicago that was going to be built after maybe the first season of Apprentice, back when we were all captivated by that circus every week. And of course, Trump sued Mnuchin's hedge fund in the financial crisis of 2008, not because Mnuchin's firm was doing anything wrong, but because Trump wanted the terms of the loan extended. Why? Because he couldn't pay it back in time. So it was settled. The matter was settled. No bridges were burned, I guess. Everybody knows that's what Trump does. He borrows money. He doesn't pay it back. He sues everyone. Why would you ever interact with this guy for political favor in the future? I've said this countless times on this channel. That's exactly what happened with Mnuchin. Who did Trump name as his Secretary of the Treasury when he came into office? Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin was not a Goldman badass, as near as I could tell. He was there. He made all the contacts. He got into Hollywood after he made more money with his hedge funds. Helped bankroll some films there. Made more money. Made more contacts. I think that's more where his interests lied. But that's Steve Mnuchin, and you can go look up articles about him. Go look up his Wikipedia. It is just filled with. There's just wreckage strewn across this guy's career, with lawsuits, with shady dealings, with buying things during the banking crisis, the global banking crisis, the mortgage banking crisis of 2008. There was an institution that he bought that had failed. It had been bought from out of bankruptcy, I guess, by Mnuchin's firm, and of course he evicts people and forecloses on mortgages, and then once he gets all that cleaned off the books, he's not helping these people at all. He's just writing it all off and then selling the more profitable institution for I read twice what he paid for it. That's what you do if you're a hedge fund guy or if you're an investment banker. You're looking to buy things cheap and sell them more expensively after either you make some improvement or the climate improves. That's what you do. That's what he did. He has no qualms doing things like that. You would never put a person like that in charge of the United States Treasury. Trump did just that. Why does Goldman Sachs say today that a Kamala Harris administration would be better for the United States economy than a Trump administration? Well, you look at things like the tax cut. That is one promise that Trump did keep in his 2017 when he came into office. He passed tax cuts for the rich and for corporations. Corporate tax rate went from 35 to 21%. Goes to show that, once again, corporations have better rights than a lot of people who reside in the United States. Last I checked, a corporation was not a human being, but it gets treated better than a lot of human beings in the United States anyway. That's my liberal side showing through there. The tax cut did get passed. The Congressional Budget Office they've run the numbers on this. It was a 10-year tax cut, not a permanent tax cut. It is estimated to have cost almost $2 trillion to this point, $1.9 trillion. It did not result in increased economic activity or a stronger U.S. economy as promised by Trump. There is talk of extending those Trump tax cuts another 10 years. Trump would do that. The estimated cost of doing that would be another $4 trillion over the next 10 years. Not something we need to do. We don't need to give the economy that kind of... We don't need to kneecap ourselves like that by reducing the revenue of the country to run on. It just increases the deficit immensely. I pulled up the article. It's from Quartz. It's QZ.com, just a bunch of news and stuff like that. But the headline is great. It says, a Kamala Harris win and a Democratic sweep would give the biggest boost to the economy. Goldman Sachs says Harris's middle-class tax credits would outweigh the decreased investment driven by higher corporate taxes. So she will let those corporate taxes go back up to where they were, but she's going to give a middle-class tax cut. What Trump's tax cuts were to largely the top 1%. I don't know how many of you are in the top 1% economically in the United States. I'm sure you would like to be. I'm sure maybe you aspire to be. But math says that 99% of you are not in the top 1%. So why would you vote for tax cuts for the top 1%? Why would you? You shouldn't. I get that we all aspire to be rich, and I'm over dramatizing it when I say all. There are a lot of people who don't want to be rich. They want to have a life. But I will say, of my 700 subscribers now, 693 of you would not be in the top 1% of my subscribers. 7 of you would be. So why would almost half of you, which is how many supports Trump right now, why would like 340 people vote to give a tax cut to 7 of you? Why would you do that? You shouldn't do that. That's just common sense there. The article goes into the aspect of Trump's, once again, plan to raise tariffs. Once again, looking to start a trade war. He's not even won an election yet, but he has promised to raise tariffs, which will drive up the costs on things like automobiles and electronics. Again, I ask you, who wants that? Who's asking for that? Who is clamoring for that? That's Trump's plan. This is video number 2 on the Trump is bad at business. But this goes into why, if you are someone who's looking for currying political favor, like a Wilbur Ross or a Steve Mnuchin, and you're going to help out Donald Trump do things because you'll get a plum post one day, that's one thing. But that's not all of us. That's none of us. So go with someone like Kamala Harris, who will actually try to put smart people on it to figure out the economy, and to give the middle class tax cuts, and to help out people who are less fortunate. I know I'm putting the spotlight on her right this second, and I typically leave her out of it, but there is just such a stark contrast between these two economic plans. And when someone like Goldman Sachs, who these investment banks always just overwhelm their Republican people with support. They give them all this money. They give them all kinds of support. So for Goldman Sachs to come out right now in September with this analyst report and say, you know what, Kamala Harris's plan will be better for America, and it's not even close. It's like 10% better if than a Donald Trump with a split Congress would be, and 30% better than a Donald Trump with a Republican Congress would be. If we have a Republican Congress and a Donald Trump, they will just pass everything he wants to do. At least a Democrat Congress could push back a little bit, make it harder to do some of these destructive things he will be trying to do. It's just basic economics. And I know that a lot of you may not be all that interested in it, but it is your job. It is your wage, your cost of living. It is really your life. We are economic beings, and putting someone who is only fighting for the top 1% and corporations, that doesn't help out 99% of us human beings. It's just that simple. So please don't vote for Trump in November, and have a great week. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.